Hello. So today I want to take some time and talk about the character of Mirabel from Disney's Encanto. And specifically, some of her characteristic traits and also just some of the choices that the movie makers decided to give to her and do to her, I just really love and appreciate. And so I wanted to cover some of those today. So let's just dive right in. First and foremost, I love that Mirabel is not a fighter. Let me explain what I mean by that. Before Encanto came out, I was really starting to get irritated with Hollywood in general, but Disney as well, how what they think a strong female character is when they are physically strong and can fight or defend themselves physically and show strength in that way. To me, that isn't very impressive most of the time. I like it when females can show strength in a feminine manner, which is one reason that some of my favorite Disney princesses are Cinderella and Belle. And I just love how their strength shows through in very compassionate and kind ways and other ways that tend to be feminine. Nothing against Raya and the Last Dragon, but when that movie came out, I was pretty sick of strong warrior type female characters, and so Encanto to me was a breath of fresh air. I felt like it had been so long since we had a main female protagonist who was kind, caring, compassionate. Her strengths come from caring about her family, caring about the community, wanting to help her family and everyone around her. And she's so kind and compassionate to the house, Casita, and she's always finding a way to be unified with everyone and be helpful. These are traits you do not see very often in female protagonists nowadays. They want to make them all strong and such, and I just get really annoyed with that. And so that is something I loved about Mirabel, is that they really highlighted those feminine characteristics and that she was just a genuinely kind, nice, caring person. I feel like there needs to be more representation of that, because I feel like that's just as important for all audiences, especially young children, to absorb, is people using those kinds of strengths which are very applicable in everyday life, opposed to being able to wield a sword super hard or whatever. Like, I see how that is more fun to watch, maybe more exciting to see, but I'm so glad that there is good representation of nice, kind characters as well. Another thing I loved about Mirabel is how they were not afraid to make her silly, especially physically. Like, she was oftentimes getting into shenanigans that made her look very silly on screen. And for some reason nowadays, movies hardly ever do that. The woman always has to be perfectly composed and strong and can't make any mistakes, while the guys tend to end up being the goofballs, the butt of the joke, and always being looking ridiculous and making fools of themselves. I don't understand why women are always portrayed as being so perfect on screen, especially physically. One of the only other cases on screen, animated-wise, that kind of breaks that is Anna in Frozen. She also is very silly physically. They do mess her up and she does get into a lot of goofy situations. And that was one of the most notable times I've seen on screen. They actually let a girl be silly and not perfect on screen. And Mirabel did that as well. There are many times in the movie when she's doing things that are just so silly and goofy, but I love it because I can relate better to that. When women are shown as being perfect and not making any mistakes and looking amazing all the time, that's just very unrelatable and unrealistic. So I love how they took those moments with Mirabel to have her be goofy on screen. Loved it. The third thing I want to talk about also has to do with her physicality, and that is the modeling of her looks so much more realistic and like an actual person than a lot of animated female characters. Now, in general, I'm not someone who usually cares that the animated female characters are really skinny or model perfect. It doesn't really bother me for the most part, because I know it is not reality. A lot of the times it's a fairy tale, it's fantasy. I know it is caricaturized and exaggerated, and so when they make them all super duper pretty, I don't usually care, except in the case of Anna and Elsa from Frozen. I think their design is kind of creepy, but that's a rant for another day. But with Mirabel, I feel like they did such a great job, and they did it as well with Moana. is their designs and proportions just look so much more healthy and relatable. It looks like they took a normal human being and then just exaggerated those features to make them look a little bit more cartoony and caricaturized, opposed to like taking a Barbie and then caricaturizing and exaggerating those features. Mirabelle and Moana look much more relatable, realistic, and healthy, and I love the look physically and the model and design of the character of Mirabelle. The fourth and final thing that I want to talk about is her vocal range. Thank you, Disney, for finally giving us an alto lead. There have been some main characters in the past who have a nice low range that we can all sing along nicely to, but with your main characters, they usually are wanting them to be showy and spectacular, so they want to go extreme. They want them to be sopranos or tenors. They want it to sound more impressive. But that just kind of leaves us all behind, and when we sing along to the soundtracks, it doesn't sound very great because not a lot of us have that extreme range. So thank you for giving us an alto. It's so much more fun and comfortable to sing along with her songs because they're all in a much more nice, comfortable, non-straining range. And for actually most of the characters, or all the characters, like Louisa's song is nice and low, easy to sing along with. It's great. I'm just so glad that they took like what would normally be the soundtrack for a Disney movie and just like dropped it down an octave. Like, thank you, I appreciate it. They still have their high notes up there, you know, when they're trying to end a song climactically or whatever, but for the most part it's just so much more comfortable to sing along with. Thank you for giving us an alto. So there you go. There are some of my thoughts on the character of Mirabelle from Encanto. I have plenty of more ideas and thoughts from this movie and about Mirabelle. Maybe I'll do a full review on another day and I'll link it below if I end up doing that. But I wanted to at least express my appreciation for some of these decisions that they made in regards to the character of Mirabelle for this movie. I'm just so grateful that they made those good decisions, and it was wonderful to see that represented on screen. And so there you have it. I don't really have a great outro for this video. It's late at night. I didn't really plan this video, and so I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Hi, hi, hi. Hello, everyone. We're gonna play.
Okay, kiddo.
Okay, everyone stop.
Let's go to bed. Say bye.
Bye.